Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Brew with Beckett, powered by 92 Degrees. Now, a huge thank you to everyone at 92 Degrees for their continuing and ongoing support of the podcast. Make sure you check them out on all the usual places on social media and try their brilliant coffee. It's honestly delicious. Today I've got a real treat for you. I am joined by former NFL star turned NFL pundit turned Strictly Come Dancing contestant Jason Bell. I have a fascinating chat with Jason about the huge highs and real crushing lows of his incredible NFL career, how he transitioned to life off the pitch and life after sport, and his experience of being on one of the biggest TV shows in the world, Strictly Come Dancing. This was a real pleasure to record. Jason's an amazing man. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy listening to it too. This is Brew with Beckett with Jason Bell. Hello everyone and welcome to another brand new episode of Brew with Beckett, powered by 92 Degrees. It is my absolute honour today to welcome my guest. I've just said to him off air, I'm a little bit starstruck because I'm a huge fan of his. I'm joined today by former NFL star, former Strictly Come Dancing contestant and current NFL pundit on BBC One and the Jason and Osi podcast, Jason Bell. Jason, thank you so much for joining me today, mate.
What's up, buddy? This is great. It's going to be fun, so I appreciate you allow me to partake in this journey.
Mate, as I said, it is my absolute honor. Now, your accent gives away that you are not English, you are American, you were born in California, but you have lived over here for how long now?
I've been coming back and forth for over 10 years, but probably living here pretty much 5-6 years. So I've been here a while and I don't see myself going anywhere.
So us English have got our claws right into you. So I want to play a quick game to see how anglicised we've made you, how much the English way has rubbed off on you. It's a game I've incredibly invented and named How English is Jason Bell. So I'm not really sure how we got to that name, the inventiveness in it, but I'm going to ask you what you would call a few things that have different names here and in America, and let's see which one you use day to day. Let's see how English was made.
All right, let's wing it.
So if you were to go to a shop and get yourself a nice bag of potato flavoured snacks, would you call them crisps or chips?
I call them crisp.
Crisp, there we go. English one. So that's 1-0 to England already there. We're winning already.
Yeah. I know where I am.
If you were to get a burger, your side of potatoes, are they chips or fries?
Side of potatoes.
So you're getting that side of cooked potatoes, chips or fries?
They would be chips.
Chips. See, here we go. You're basically English, mate. You're basically English already. Do you call people on your mobile or your cell phone?
Cell phone. Sorry.
That one's stuck. Right. I'm gonna bring it round to sport now. When I'm either playing rugby or you're playing football, on your feet, are you wearing cleats or boots?
Cleats.
The look.
Boots are something I wear in the rain. I wear boots in the rain, and when I'm going out, I got my cool boots on. You know, I can never get used to calling my cleats boots. It won't happen.
The genuine look of disgust on your face there when I said the word boots for them was just shocking. And then final one. Sorry, if you're going out to play, are you wearing a kit or uniform?
A uniform. I mean, I know what a kit is. I get it, but it's definitely a uniform. I grew up saying uniform. It's hard to break away from that. I understand, obviously, but yeah, I'm always calling it a uniform. I'm calling it cleats. I'm calling it the locker room, all that kind of good stuff.
all the American stuff still. That's good to know. You said you've been here on and off for 10 years and you don't see yourself going anywhere. So what I've got to ask is, what's your favourite thing about living in England and what's the worst thing about living in England? What do you miss most about America?
So my favorite thing is the culture. I've always been a person who's chased different cultures, different experiences, and being over here, I'm constantly a foreigner, right? I'm being introduced to new things all the time, especially in the UK. You have people from all over the world here. So I love that. I love that it's a sporting country. I'm really into that. I mean, you love their sports. They understand it. It's inbred in the society, and I'm down with that. What do I miss the most is I grew up at the beach, from Long Beach, California. So I grew up in a beach city, surfing, skateboard, and all that kind of stuff. So I miss just going down to the beach where I'm from. I really miss that. You still have some lovely beaches out here, but it's just a lot different than what I felt growing up in California. So I do miss that.
Going to Blackpool or Skegness is a little bit different than the beaches in California. I think the weather and the setting is just a little bit different.
A little different. I do miss that.
Yes, yeah, I can imagine it's not quite the same weather when you open up the windows, open up the doors in the morning. There might be people listening to this who are thinking, I'm not an NFL fan in the slightest. It's not for me, but I definitely recognize that voice. They might be watching thinking, I definitely recognize that face. And that might be because you've just recently finished as a contestant on the latest series of Strictly Come Dancing. My first question is, you, Jason, played 82 games in the NFL. You played in front of thousands of people screaming at you. How did the nerves of playing in that compare to your nerves the first time going on that dance floor dressed in sequins?
Oh, man, same nerves, same exact nerves. For me, nerves are nerves. I understand what my body is going to feel just being a pro for so long in my sport, that once I got on that stage, I felt those same butterflies, that same anxiety. The difference is, you knew, because they didn't have a crowd, but you knew there were millions of people watching. So the first thing I thought was, oh, don't embarrass my family. Like, don't embarrass them. But like playing the game, as soon as you got out there, as soon as I would say the kickoff happened, as soon as you started dancing, you were in the moment.
Yeah.
You were there and you were locked in and focused on what you had to do. And I always knew that's how it would be. And it's because I've kind of made myself always focus in on being where I am, where my feet are, because that's all I can control. So very nervous before, just trying to stay calm, trying to focus on the things I could, visualize all that good stuff. And then once you're in there, you're just feeling it, man, every second. And then it's over and you're nervous again. Even when it's over, you're nervous again. You're like, oh my gosh, what happened? So it was really an unbelievable experience and truly an honor to be involved. This is something that is so magnificent in this country. They love the show. And for me to be on it as an American and get that opportunity, an opportunity that a lot of people wanted, I'm just so happy that they gave it to me, and I appreciate it. And my daughter was very happy to see her dad out there.
Oh, I bet she absolutely loved it. I bet you were the real hero of the hour at home. That's what I want to ask. How did the opportunity come about? Because like you say, it's almost like it's a part of British culture, Strictly Come Dancing. It's almost like the countdown to Christmas starts with Strictly Come Dancing. That's a big part of our life. I know you have Dancing in the Stars in the States, which is pretty much the same premise, just under a different name. Like you say, it's a thing that lots of huge celebrities want to do, and everyone who does it says it's an amazing experience. So how did the opportunity come about for you to be part of Strictly?
I think I was in a big pool of names and somebody might have suggested me. And then the production team met with me right before the lockdown happened. I think I was probably one of the first people to be introduced to them. And it was early on in the process. And I just think the conversations we had, they figured this guy might be all right. He'll have a good time, So, and I'm very still close with the people that chose for me to be on the show. And I just got lucky. I think they knew it's such a great atmosphere that they're very careful on who they put on there, because it is a great experience and a bunch of great people. I mean, everybody on there was good. So I just got lucky. They chose me, and it was a long process, but it was really cool. I'm glad.
Yeah, and like I say, everyone has great things to say about who comes off it. But something everyone says is how challenging they find it physically. Like you see so many celebrities say, "Oh, I lost so much weight," or the physical demands. Now, obviously, you've been a professional athlete. I think I know from being a professional athlete too, you get that sort of training ingrained in that. Even when you finish, training is just a part of your life and staying healthy. So, how did you find that? Was that easier, or was it just using completely different muscle muscle groups that you just weren't used to using? Were you sore? Were you tired? Or do you think the fact that you had that fitness already helped?
Completely different muscle groups. I was sore, I was tired, but I was aware that that was going to happen. I think my experience with being an athlete was I knew this was going to happen. It was not a surprise. I was not, I was not in shock by the way I felt. I knew that that was going to happen. And it was still hard. I mean, you're learning a new skill using different muscles, and it's the intensity of having to do it in a condensed amount of time. So it was challenging on all those fronts. But once you go into it, understanding that's how you're going to feel, you accept it, and you watch everybody else do it, and you're going through it, and they're struggling too. So it's kind of like being on a team again, even though you're not dancing with them, the other pros, the celebrities, but everybody's feeling the same way. So that's cool. You don't feel alone.
Yeah, that's great that you're all pulling, even though you're technically competing against each other, everyone's pulling for each other and wants them to do great. You talk about teammates there, which something I want to ask about is, I know in rugby, there is a huge cultural environment of just taking the piss out of each other. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's good or it's bad, your teammates are going to take the piss out of you, and that's just how it works. I imagine it's similar in most team sports. So I imagine it's the same in the NFL. And that's what I want to ask is, did any of your former teammates have anything to say? Were they watching? Were they criticizing? Were they critiquing? What did you have any interesting or funny comments?
Oh, in the locker room, everything is fair game. So they're going to attack you on all fronts. So, of course, a lot of my old teammates, when it first got announced, a couple of them were like, are you really going to do this? Like, how are you going to do this? Your body, your back, you're this. And then as it progressed, I mean, the jokes in the group chats, I mean, they were attacking me, every outfit, everything, every dance move. But it was all out of love. I mean, these are my buddies. But yes, everything was fair game. And I kept those guys entertained for as long as I was on that show. They still send pictures to this day with stuff and just craziness attacking me.
That would be ammunition in those WhatsApp groups for years. I know how teammates are, but it's one of those where actually you'd be worried if they weren't. The worrying would be if your teammates aren't taking the mick at you. That's when you know there's something wrong. That's how we show love to each other. It's so great. It's so great to hear you speak so highly of it. And I personally can't imagine anything worse than going on Strictly Come Dancing, because you've never met a man with less rhythm in his life than me, or who would look worse in sequence. But it's so great to hear you have such a positive memory of it. And I'm sure there'll be memories that'll last a lifetime. And when you're grey and old, or bald like I am already, bald and young, you'll be looking back going, what an amazing thing I did. I do want to move on to your NFL career now, which is a huge passion. I love NFL. I'm a huge Cowboys fan, sat here in my cap. For my sins, I'm a Cowboys fan at the moment. Now, anyone who...
All good.
Anyone who isn't too familiar with NFL and American sports in general, I think you said we're sports mad over here in England. I think America almost takes it to the next level. Like, sports is just a religion, the biggest one. NFL is the biggest. And that's my first question is actually about you, Chris. I want to know, so you were an NFL player, played 82 games in the NFL, great career. What's your most A-list superstar story? Was there any moments you're there like, Jesus, how am I in this scenario of you're either in a club or whatever, or at a game, and there's just people there who are just huge A-list celebrities, and you're like, how is this my life that I'm with these people? You must have some great stories.
Yeah, I got a ton of them, but I would say the one that sticks out the most is my rookie year. And I grew up, obviously, you collect the football cards and stuff. Yeah. So I remember having all these cards and the video games. And I was a huge Deion Sanders fan, best corner all time, and Emmitt Smith, the all-time leading rusher in NFL history, both Dallas Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
At some time. And when I first got to Dallas, the first thing a friend of mine was friends with Deion Sanders, and he was staying in his house. So I got to go to Deion Sanders' house. He wasn't there, and I walked around his whole house, like creeping around this man's house, just looking like this is Deion's stuff, like wanting to touch stuff, like wanting to get the greatness of Deion in his house. I knew he had cameras, so it was all good. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but that was just like, oh my goodness, this is, I look up to this guy, I'm in his house. And then the first time I went to practice as a Dallas Cowboy, and I walk in, and Emmitt Smith I'm looking at Emmitt Smith in the same locker. I mean, the greatest running back of all time. And I remember we had a huge hot tub right before practice. Everybody's getting warmed up, stretching, doing their stuff. And I remember one time in the hot tub, it was just me and Emmett just started like talking to me about early years of his career, when he had to fight for his position, things like that. And I'm thinking, Emmitt Smith is my friend. Like, I mean, this is just blowing my mind. He invited me to his house over the holidays, to have dinner. Like, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, just there was so many guys in that locker room that were superstars to me, Darren Woodson, Larry Allen. I mean, these guys, two of them are Hall of Famers, Emmitt Smith and Larry Allen, the offensive guard, one of the greatest of all time. And I mean, just being in there, Michael Irvin coming in. Like, these are guys, I literally was a kid watching them. And now I'm in the locker room with them, having discussions with them. I got their number in my cell phone.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy, and that's just, that was to me, I've met a lot of people, but I was so starstruck, but yet had relationships with these people.
I know the exact feeling. I had a lot when I grew up a Leicester Tigers fan in rugby here, and all I wanted to do was play for Leicester Tigers. And weirdly, the stars aligned. At 16, I moved to Leicester and joined the academy. So that was the club that signed me at 16. And you're in there, and then you go to the academy, and then at 18 years old, so you're around the first team. You see them in the physio room, you see them in the change room, but you don't really have too much interaction with them. And then 18, I got put into the first team squad, and I'm playing with these guys. I'm training with these guys every day, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ! Like, these are the people I grew up watching. And the one that stands out is a guy called Brad Thorne, who is legendary in rugby. He's won everything in rugby league and rugby union, and he joined Leicester at the age of 39 and was still at the top of his game. He's the best professional I've ever seen. Yeah, he plays my position. So I was like, I'm going to put myself next to Brad Thorne and just be like a sponge and learn everything I can. Like our second or third session, he called me over and he was like, Charlie. And I was like, yes, Brad. He's like, do you mind if I give you some advice? And I was like, do I mind if you give me some advice? I was like, yes, give me everything. It was just, and it was basically, he needed me to start. We had this huge Samoan prop, and I needed to basically get into a little bit and be a bit confrontational. I was like, oh, I'm a 19-year-old kid here. And he was like, don't worry, if he gets rowdy, I'll step in. So I was like, right, okay, I'm doing it. Did it to this guy who's a good friend of mine, a guy called Logo Viamuapola, and got around it. And Logo goes to push me, and Brad just stepped in and was like, no. And I was like, oh my God, Brad's my bodyguard. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I was like, Brad Thorne's my bodyguard. How has this happened? So I can completely relate to. You go from idolizing these guys to being like, oh fuck, I'm on the same team as them. This is ridiculous. Like, it's just crazy. It's a great story.
That's a good story right there.
And so it was just like Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, legends of the game. I can only imagine what it's being like sat in a hot tub with Emmitt, just chatting, or sat in a hot tub with Deion. Amazing. So I want to go back a sec to when you joined Dallas. So again, people might not know the way so I just said there, I got signed to Leicester Tigers Academy. The way it works in American sports is very, very different. You go through college, you get your degree, you play. College football is massive. You get 80, 90,000 at college games. It's a huge, huge thing. And then you go into the draft, and the NFL team, choose their players from the draft. So what I want to talk about is it fascinates me, is you're going through college to be an NFL player. You go to the combine, you go to the draft. Talk to me about, first of all, did you expect to get drafted? The feeling of having to wait. So there's some people who know they're getting drafted. The first round picks know they're going. It's just when they go. There's then the likes of yourself, I imagine you were unsure and have to wait. Then that moment of not being drafted. How do you mentally deal with that? Because I can't imagine how tough that must have been.
Yeah, so my junior year, I was one of the top corners in the nation, top 10 corner, probably number 6. So at that time, going into the next season, I knew I was going to be second, third round pick, right? Maybe fought my way into the first round if I tested well. I get hurt and I miss my whole senior year. I have to come back the next year, and I did a thing called redshirting, where usually most guys sit out their first year in college to kind of build themselves up, get physically ready, and then play. But I played early. So when I came back, that whole year, I was playing, starting again. And I remember a scout telling me, Jason, loved you for all these other years I watched you. But he showed me this paper. He says, you're basically on my do not look at list because of your injury. I had a injury to my heel, and it kind of cut into my Achilles. So on tape, I didn't look as fast as I previously did all the other years because I was still healing that year. I wasn't 100%. So I kind of knew what was going on. I knew that I was going to have to run a fast 40-yard dash, and that's what they test us on, and just really test well at the combine to get a shot. Because on tape, I still looked hurt, and I was. So I knew things had changed, you know, from one year to the next with that injury. So I'm getting ready. I know I get invited to all these all-star games. So momentum is pushing. I start getting healthier as the season goes on, and I break my foot in the bowl game. So in our bowl game, I break my foot, so I can't go to the combine.
Right.
I miss the combine, and I miss all the all-star games. So now I'm like, this is not good. But in my head, I'm like, what do you do? So me and my trainer got together, and all I focused on was running fast. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even cut at the time. I couldn't go side to side. But you have your combine, and then after the combine, they come to your school and test you again with all the running stuff. So I obviously couldn't make the combine, couldn't run at the combine. Come back, and I run a really fast 40 on grass, like a 4.3 on grass, which is really fast. Could not go side to side. Ran the 40 left. Like, that's it. They're like, you're not going to do any other drills? I was like, I'll get to that later, you know, because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So they're like, wow, Jason, he ran fast.
He's fast.
So what happened was all of a sudden the buzz started. The scouts were like, maybe he's healthy again. I ended up doing another workout with a friend of mine who had all the teams looking at him because he was a first rounder. And I did all the side to side stuff because I gave myself about a month to heal. And then I'll look good on that. That's when Dallas, our defensive back coach from Dallas, saw me. And he must have went back to Dallas and was like, just stay quiet. We want this kid.
Okay.
So all of a sudden things started picking up, and I thought maybe I'd get drafted in the 6th or 7th round, maybe a little earlier because of the injury. But I knew the buzz was there. Teams wanted me. They call them high priority free agents. So as soon as the draft was over, my phone blows up.
Right. Okay.
I had at least 15 teams calling, and I got to pick the team I wanted to go to, which was worked out better because you get drafted, you don't have a choice. Yeah. I was able to pick Dallas. They had salary cap issues, which meant young guys were going to have to make that team.
Right. Okay. So makes sense.
Perfect fit. So I picked Dallas and obviously fought my way and made the team. A lot of things had to go right, but it really worked out. If I would have got drafted, who knows where I would have went, and it might not have been the same scenario or situation.
Yeah, that's something I find bonkers in American sport, is that you get drafted and you go there. Like, it is not your choice to play it. And I think that must be a really tough scenario to be in. Like, you see, there's a load of chat about Trevor Lawrence this year, who's going to go first, and he's not going to go where he wants to go because the worst team get the first pick. And it's a great system for trying to keep the league even, but it's mad how these the stars have to align for the great players to have the great careers because they have to end up at the right place. So you said obviously you chose Dallas because young players are going to have to play. And I want to talk about what it's like being a Dallas Cowboy, because people might not know, but talk about over here, Manchester United, and the most hated club in America, in English football. In American football, everybody hates Dallas unless you love Dallas. And people might be wondering why. They managed to nickname themselves America's team, which is just an incredible thing to call yourself, an arrogance. And when asked why there was a hole in the roof of their stadium, the answer was so God can watch his team play. So the arrogance levels of the organization are off the chart. So did you have that feeling playing for Dallas, that every time you go on the pitch, people are picking up their game because they're playing the star, because there's that white and silver uniform in front of them? Did you get that feeling playing?
Yes, you knew the entire country was watching and parts of the world were watching. Obviously, the game has grown much more than when I started, but you knew everywhere you went. I was traveling internationally. People knew the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So I remember playing in Mexico City, and it was wild how many fans were out there to watch the Dallas Cowboys. You got to give Jerry Jones a lot of credit, the owner, because he has done so much for the NFL. He has sold his franchise. He keeps them in the news cycle. He's always telling you what they are and what they're going to do, regardless if they win or not. That is brilliance, if you ask me, and how he's helped the league grow. And you felt that when you got in that locker room. you felt you were surrounded by historical greatness, not only because of the players there, but those 3 Super Bowl trophies that they had in the 90s. So you felt the connection to that. And I also thought that was a little bit of the problem, because though that is what happened, we had nothing to do with it. We had to go out there and prove who we were and what we were as a new team. There were a lot of those players who had won those Super Bowls, but us young guys, that had nothing to do with us. But sometimes we felt that greatness because we had that star on our helmet. And I think you see the same thing with the Cowboys now is, it's always that focus, always those eyes on them. But yet, when's the last time they've been to the Super Bowl? Since the 90s. So there is a little bit of issue with that.
Like I say, for my sins, my dad's a Cowboys fan, so I'm a Cowboys fan. My sister is as well. And I've never seen them get anywhere near a Super Bowl. I'm 25 years old. I've never seen them get anywhere near. Until my English football team, Liverpool, won the league this year, I've been cursed with supporting sides who were great in the past before I was born. But since I've been born, I've been pretty useless. So hopefully the Cowboys fans will get better. Before we move on, I do have to ask about Jerry Jones, because he seems like one of the most amazing enigmas in the world of sport and business. Is he everything you see in the press, everything you see on YouTube, on Twitter of Jerry? Is that just Jerry? Is it what you see is what you get?
I think so. In my experience with him, he was very personable. He's one of the only owners that I know of that people call him by his first name all the time. Yeah. It's, hey, Jerry, Jerry Jones. He loves the players because he was a college player. He loves being around them. He gets a lot of people have issues with him being the general manager and picking the players, right? Most owners have a general manager. But when you look at the talent he's acquired, he's actually picked some good players over the years. Think of his 2 last quarterbacks. He drafted those guys and they weren't in the first round. So, there's something to be said about this guy's ability to find talent. I like Jerry. I like what he has done for the league. I like that he's not afraid to get in front of the camera and say what he needs to say, because we need storylines, and he will constantly give the NFL storylines, especially Dallas storylines every weekend. And that's important for a person now that covers the media. A gift like that is keep it coming. So Jerry's great like that. And I like him. He's great for the league, and he's all about growing the game and the sport and the competition of winning. So I appreciate him.
Yeah, I say he's good for the league. He brings eyes to it. He's as I said, an enigma. He's unique in his field. You always know it's worth listening to a Jerry Jones press conference. There's always something that's going to be interesting said. You did one season in Dallas, and then you in 2002 signed for the Texans, and I think I'm correct in saying that was their inaugural season as a franchise. So they'd been the Houston Oilers, and then Tennessee bought the franchise. They became the Titans, and then Houston were an expansion team. So what was that like, going from the two extremes of maybe the most historical franchise in the league, in the Cowboys, and you know what you get into, suddenly you're on the ground floor building something with a new side in Houston? How was that experience?
It was really good. I mean, we played them the first game of that year, and we beat them. So that was one of the most memorable games I've ever played in. Loved it. Had a great game too. I think I had a great game because I knew all the plays from Dallas that had just come. So it was like cheating on a test. But it was different. Yeah, I can do this. I know how to beat this guy. I know what this guy's weakness is. Like, let's go. I've practiced against this all day. Yeah. They literally threw me out there, and I didn't know our defense yet, but I knew what that offense was doing. So it was like, go play. That being said, it was a new team, and the city just was so happy to have football back, right? Houston is a football city, so the fans really embraced the team. That part was cool. It was definitely different because it was in Houston, we were building a culture. It didn't have a culture because it was a new team. So you didn't have to plug in Dallas, you just plugged into what was existing. But in Houston, we were able to develop this new identity. It was players from all other teams. Some had success, some didn't. We had a lot of guys come from Baltimore who had won the Super Bowl. Aaron Glenn, Marcus Coleman, they come from the Jets. So it was just a really cool environment with a lot of different people trying to figure it out on the fly. Don Capers, our head coach, was really cool. He had started an expansion team before. And Bob McNair, the late owner, was very relaxed and understood what we were trying to do and what we were trying to build. So he was quite patient with us, and you can feel that. So it was a great experience. Spent most of my career there. Loved Houston. Loved the people. Loved playing football in Texas in general, just because of their appreciation for the sport. It is religion in that state, and you felt it every week, everywhere you went, and it's an experience I like no other.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to ask, because the saying isn't that everything's bigger in Texas, but especially football. Like you see 20, 30,000 people on a Friday night going to high school football games. Just everything is crazy there. So it must have been like living under a microscope at times, with just all eyes on you in Dallas and then Houston, just spending most of your career in Texas. You obviously did well at Texas that first season. I read that you received the Ed Block Courage Award, which is voted by your teammates for being a role model of inspiration, sportsmanship, and courage. That must have meant a lot, because I know accolades are nice and being given man the match or MVP or whatever it is, but it's when it's your teammates showing their recognition for what you do, that always, in my experience, means the most, doesn't it? When the people you're in the locker room with say, no, we appreciate what you do.
Yeah, it meant a lot, and it meant even more because it was the first inaugural season. So it was just these guys starting to know each other, right? And I was the latest kind of guy introduced to that team. I came on week 1 when I was basically traded from Dallas over to Houston. I came in and we started practicing for the season. So it took those guys all year to get to know me, but it is one of my most special prized awards that I have. It's at my mom's house. She will not let me take it. She keeps it in her living room, sit up there by her piano. I've tried to take it. It's not happening. She's going to give it to my daughter one day, but she's not giving it to me.
It's the same. My mum has in her lounge. She just moved house. It's moved with us. She has my first ever England under-16s cap. So when you play for England over here, you get a old-fashioned cap, and that's framed and sits there. And then in my dad's house, he has my under-18s, under-20s caps as well. My shirts around. I don't think I'll ever be able to get them off them either. They're like my most prized possessions, but I don't think I'll ever get them.
Nah.
Now, before I move on,
it's theirs now, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's gone forever. Before I move on to your last season with the Giants, I want to ask something that, again, there's so much about the NFL that fascinates me, and I've wanted so long to ask someone who's played in it. So this is just an unbelievable opportunity for me just to have a chat with you. When I'm playing rugby, I know that when I'm on the pitch, the 80 minutes of the game, I can affect the game, whatever's going on. I'm on the pitch, I'm in it. In football, you play one side of the ball. So you spend your career playing defense and playing special teams. What's it like having to watch, knowing that you're in a tight game and the offense goes on the pitch and now you have to watch? You can't do anything. That feeling of powerlessness. How do you do that? Because I think I'd just be awful on the sideline watching.
Well, it's what makes it such a team sport, and it's the dynamic between offense and defense. You practice against these guys all week, so you know who can do it. And you have faith in those that are out there. I think what happens on the sideline is you pump each other up. Go out there, make it happen. Go make this play. Go out there and score. We're going to get back on defense. We're going to get a 3 and out and get you the ball back. That kind of conversation happens. So you're just rooting for each other. And when you're on the field, that sideline is your engine. You can feel that. You can feel that fuel. So it isn't that you feel helpless, because they are a part of you. If we go out and we're physical on offense, and our offense just runs the ball down the field, scores a touchdown, and just dominates the opposing team's defense, when we get on the field, we feel tough. We feel like we've done that. So we get out there and we play with an edge over what our offense just did. So I think it becomes an issue when you don't have the faith in one side of the ball, and momentum can shift and turn because of that. If you're a team with a great offense and you keep giving your defense, a great offense, and you keep scoring, but your defense can't stop anybody, that impacts you eventually, but that happens later on in the game. But you're just so used to doing what you can do and what you can control. I think that's all you really focus on. If you start worrying about what they're doing too much, when it's your time to make a play, all your energy is lost.
I'm a big believer. One of my favorite sayings is just control the controllables. It's something I think about a lot in my career, whether it's my sporting career or doing this sort of stuff. Like, worrying about things I can't control is just a complete waste of energy and time. So control the controllables. Have you ever been in experience where you said you took the positives there of you're pumping each other up, when the offense go great, you want to go and do even better? Have you ever had experiences of the flip side of that, of say you're playing D and you keep stopping them, but your offense just keeps going 3 and out and they can't score, and you're like, we are on the pitch all the time here. How does that work? Because there must be some friction created in those scenarios between the two sides of the ball.
Yeah, there is, but it kind of doesn't happen in the game. It might happen later in the week or things of that nature. What happens in the game while you're playing is you just get tired. There's you can look defense. Less defense is the best defense. If you're playing too many snaps, you just get worn down, and that's what usually would happen. You're just fighting, and then they make one play, and you're just like, come on, because you're just on the field so much. So that happens a lot when your offense isn't getting first downs. And it's when I'm commentating and watching the game, that's the things I'm looking for, right? I want to bring the viewer into that. Like, this is where the shift happens. The offense needs to do this now, because if they don't, it's going to impact the defense because they've been on the field too long. This is too many snaps. The big guys are going to get tired in the late in the third, fourth quarter, stuff like that. So a good coach and a good organization understands that and tries to make sure everybody knows this is a team effort. You keep those conversations out of the media. But yeah, you do feel it. But at some point, think about it. At some point, if you're just dominant on one side of the ball, you just accept that. And you go, we got to go win this game.
Yeah.
If we're a dominant offense, let's go score a bunch of points and make sure our defense can just keep them at bay, hold them back. I mean, that's what your identity becomes. So I don't think teams are as frustrated about it because they know where the money is spent and where the players are. And they just go out there and, like you said, control the controllables. You go do your thing, worry about what you can do. But if you are the dominant side of the ball, you take that challenge.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's fascinating insight for me, and it's just great to hear. You, as I said, you spent most of your career in Texas, but then for your last season, you moved up to New York to play for the Giants. How did that opportunity come about? Were you excited to get up to the Giants and try something a bit different than down in the Southern States?
Yeah, I was lucky. I never really went into free agency. I always re-signed my contract with Houston before free agency started, and I could go test the market. It was because I had a great relationship there. The coaches wanted me. I had a role, and everywhere you play, you want a role. But it was good to get into free agency. As soon as I did, there were several teams after me. I was kind of excited and unexpected about, the attention I got. New York said they had wanted me for years. Went up there. My good friend was the linebacker, Antonio Pierce. We grew up together. So he introduced me to everybody, great guys. I mean, some of my lifelong friends, that's where I met Osi. We became friends instantly. But getting over there was great. From Texas to New York was a change, but I was ready for it because I had been in the league for a while. So the big city lights weren't going to get me. And then I switched positions from corner to safety, which was unexpected and a challenge. And I'm really glad they did because I was really good at it. It was a natural shift for me and position. I had got big enough to play it. And it was one of the better years of my career. Probably my best year of my career on defense for sure. I really played well, played corner and safety. And so it was a great way. Didn't know it was going to be my last year. The next year I was on injured reserve, of course, but just a great experience and probably closer with those players than anywhere else I've played.
Yeah, you talk about going to injured reserve, and unfortunately, as we'll get into shortly, injuries have been an issue throughout your whole career. I was reading about it the other day in research, like there's not many people you'll read who've been more misfortunate with injuries, but you're also, Jason, one tough SOB because you played 4 games that season with a fractured right arm, which is ridiculous. To play a contact sport with a broken limb is crazy. So that, like, all the respect in the world for managing to get on with that. I can't imagine how painful that must have been. So in rugby, a lot of the listeners here will be rugby fans because they will have seen me and know me through rugby, and that's how they listen to this. So positional change in rugby, there are certain positions. So I'll play second row or back row. I'm comfortable in either. A lot of people play centre or winger. You'll play full back or winger. Like, it happens a lot. Changing positions in football is a lot less frequent, less common. So that change of corner to safety, talk to me about whose idea that was and what that meant differently for your role in the game. How big a change is that?
So yeah, a lot of people don't change positions because the NFL is really skill specific, right? All these positions require different sets of skills. Now, corner to safety, you're both defensive backs, which means you're on defense, you're the deepest guys, you're trying to cover receivers, make tackles, all that kind of good stuff. But what the change is really is the perspective of the game. When you're a corner, you actually are in the corner. The sideline is right the next thing to you. And, the corner of the end zone is behind you. So you're watching the game from a triangle. And when you're at safety, you're seeing the game as a whole. You don't see it from this one angle where it's kind of coming at you differently, and it attacks you. You feel it differently. And when I went to safety, it was like, oh my goodness, the whole field is wide open. Like I'm seeing everything. Like I got threats coming from everywhere. So that was one thing to get used to. And you are a general out there. I call it directing traffic. As the offense changes formations and tries to disguise, you have to do the same, and you have to communicate it to everybody. So it's very cerebral in that nature. Corner, it was all about learning how to match moves and how to play your opponent. I had to learn people. I had to learn their skills. I had to learn their movement, their body language. I studied movement of my opponent. I had it down. And at safety, you didn't do it as much. It was studying the whole formation, the field, and everything the offense is doing at you. So you have to be bigger because you're a chess piece that can be moved anywhere. If they're running the ball, they move you up to stop the run. If they're passing the ball, they move you back to stop the pass. You got to be able to do it all.
Yeah, I think that bit you said there about the analysis, and that's a bit of professional sports that fans don't appreciate maybe sometimes, is the amount of time spent. Everyone understands the amount of time spent in a gym or on a pitch training, but actually the amount of time spent on the computers just watching footage, and it's not the most exciting thing to watch. So you talk about your movements when you're at, say, at corner. For me, a lot of it is in rugby, it's called line outs. So I'm watching, okay, what's his body language when he's taking something on the front foot? What's his body language when he's taking something on the back foot? And actually, it's the minutiae that might make the difference in the 79th minute where I need to get up and steal a line out for us to win the game. I go, well, you know what? I've seen him do this before. I know exactly what's happening. And I think that's the sort of stuff that people don't appreciate, that they're the hours spent in the analysis room just watching and familiarizing yourself with. And that's what the really, really good, and that's the difference between people who do make it professional and don't, is they're willing to do that work. I think it's fascinating. That's across sports. You said about you ended up for 2007 season on the injured reserve list, which for people, again, who aren't American sports fans, when you're injured, that's what you go on, and you're not an active member of the roster, essentially. I read that you aggravated a back injury in the off season. What exactly was the injury? What happened?
So I had a thing called degenerative disc disease. And it basically, I think I've had it throughout my career, and I've always had lower back problems. And I was just training, and all of a sudden I just fell down, and I was like, what is going on? And as I was getting ready for the season, I really worked hard every year. That's how I stayed in the league. Like I just literally outworked everybody.
Yeah.
And I remember doing some sprints with the team, and guys that shouldn't be catching me were catching me. And I was thinking, what is going on? And my back just, the disc dried out. So it was bone on bone. And then one day at practice in the summertime, I just fell doing a drill. And that was the last time I've ever touched the field. And I went in to see a doctor, and they said, hey, we can do all the rehab, but eventually you're going to have surgery to either get a fusion of the spine or get an artificial disc. And that's what I ended up doing the year after I retired. But yeah, I kind of knew it was over. The year previous, throughout the season, I remember our training staff saying, we knew something was wrong with your back because you would just come off the sideline, and they were constantly working on my back. But I just thought, I'm getting older, playing safety, putting on weight, to play the position. But yeah, my back, that was it. You just don't know either. It wasn't like it was a sudden injury. Oh gosh, you hurt your knee and that was it. It was just over time, the continuous repetitive nature of, hitting people and running and lifting weights. It just caught up to me. So yeah, that's what happened. And that's why the last time I ever played in the game was we were in the playoffs, and I actually had to start corner after starting safety a bunch of the year. And it was a really challenging game. And it was one of the better games I've ever played in. A lot of ups and downs. Something I reminded myself when I was on Strictly is that game. Like I can overcome anything.
Yeah.
And last game I've ever played in. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
had a good
glad
one.
I went out on a high note.
It's
yeah.
It's rare, I think, in professional sports in general that anyone goes out on their own terms. Normally, people go out through injury before they want to, or you see, unfortunately, I think it's almost sadder is people hold on a bit long and they become a shadow of what they used to be, which obviously never happened for you. But the thing that must have been incredibly tough was the year you went on injury reserve and then eventually retire. The Giants, who are your side, go and win the Super Bowl. That must have been really mixed emotions watching that from home. Obviously, you're over the moon for your friends. You said they're lifelong friends. You're probably your best friends, teammates. Like, you must be incredibly happy for them, and it's still your team. But also, you must just have been gutted watching, going, that should have been me out there. How did you mentally deal with that? Because that's pretty heartbreaking.
Well, first of all, I was at the game.
Right,
so
okay.
I was there. I was sitting there, and another one of my teammates that had my back injury, a guy I'm very close with, Carlos Emmons, who played 13 years at linebacker. He was supposed to be there with me, but he didn't go because he was like, I can't watch it. I was like, man, let's do it. You know, the team got us tickets, let's do it. And, you know, I was still a big part of the organization as far as the players were concerned. I was around a lot. I had went to a lot of games that year. You know, I was supposed to be on the team. I just was hurt. So obviously rooting for him all year, so glad in the Super Bowl. And when my friend Plaxico Burress catches the pass from Eli Manning and scores for them to win, the crowd goes crazy. And I sat down. I literally sat in a chair. And that was a very surreal moment. It hit me. It was very hard to deal with, very depressing at that moment, because I saw my friends and their family run on the field. And I was just like, that was supposed to be me. And I think for 5-10 minutes, it was I was sitting there feeling sad for myself. And then I just popped up again and then I just started cheering. Yeah. And I've been happy ever since. Yeah. I never thought of it again like, oh man, I should have. Never. But for 10 minutes in that stadium, I grieved. In the moment.
Yeah. I think anyone would, and I think it's testament to you and the teammate and the person you are that you only did for 10 minutes, because I couldn't have blamed you for that. That's the sort of thing that would, I think, for me and the way I am, where I'm at in my life now, I think that would weigh on me for a long time. The closest I could come to is I was picked for the England U20s to go to the Junior World Cup. And basically, I got dropped at the World Cup. They stopped picking me at the World Cup, and I had to watch my mates go and play in a Junior World Cup final. Ooh. And I was sat on the sides, and they didn't win, which I was gutted because some of my best mates. But that sat there, and you go in, that should be me out there. Like, I should be on that pitch playing. So it's a tough thing to do, but it's the ups and downs of professional sport, isn't it? And as you say, I'm a big believer of if everything hadn't happened the way it did, we wouldn't be where we are now. I think you look at where you are now, we're going to get into that now. You're in a fantastic place because you finish up football and you choose to retire, have the surgery that will be career ending, but will fix your back. And you transitioned before you came into punditry, which you're doing now, transitioned to wealth management. So how did that come about? Or that was the next step, because you were obviously good at it, because you ended up in the top 36 football players on Wall Street in the Business Insider. So how did wealth management become your next step?
So I always knew I was going to do it while I was playing, in the locker room, having conversations around money and investments. I knew that would be my path when I retired. So I was headed towards that already. So even my first year in New York, I was kind of looking at different firms that maybe I was going to work with. It just got accelerated because of the injury, which was good. So, obviously I met my business partner who I started with and started my company with. So that all happened luckily around that time, and built a career first with all my former teammates and friends, and going back and giving them advice and being a financial consultant, and then managing a lot of their money and just building up my book of business after that. I truly love it to this day. I mean, I love everything about personal finance, and really helping people understand that money is just a tool to achieve whatever goal that they want, and understanding how to make those decisions right. Just the behavioral side of money. Being in the locker room, I was able to see that up close, a lot of the pressures and the motivations around money. And it usually was something that had nothing to do with money. What do you want to do with your family? What do what's important to you? So just engaging in that was something I will never stop doing. I love it. I love helping people, helping families kind of achieve whatever goals that they want through finance. So yeah, got into that and never thought I'd be in the media. Never wanted to do anything in television. Obviously, because I knew I was going to finance, I kind of stayed away from the media because I didn't want to, you know, when you're helping people with their finances, you don't want people to kind of know who you are. You just want to be in the, you know, you want to be their secret person in the dark, you know?
Absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
You don't want them on TV all the time, you know? So that I kind of avoided that. But then OC retired and he was out here and he was starting to work for the NFL UK. And then someone knew I was out here because they heard I was out here. And that's how that all started. I mean, I never wanted to do anything like I'm doing now. But I'm so grateful I am because I love it. I really do. I really enjoy it. And none of this would have happened if I wouldn't have got hurt. None of it.
Yeah.
Nothing. You know, I look at my life now and the things, you know, my daughter obviously is my prize, and I love her more than anything. And, you know, who knows, you know, if I don't get hurt, is she here? So yeah, I'm always well aware, and I try to tell people, you know, wherever you are in life, be cool with that because you don't know what's around the corner. Just embrace it and do it. Yeah. So it's just amazing and fascinating. On the media side, I think what helped me was talking finance. When you start to talk about sports, and especially, you know, when they want you to educate an audience and talk about different concepts, the same way I looked at when you talk about finances and money. Everybody understands money, but they might not understand, you know, these different kind of products and tools and things like that. So it's the industry has found a way to make it confusing to protect the profession, but it's very simple. So I do the same way with sports. So I was breaking down all these financial concepts. I was like, oh, it's the same way you can do with sports. You just gotta, you know, if you know it better, you can teach it and make it all make sense. So it really helped me. It was crazy. I never thought finance was going to help me in football like that.
It's honestly, it's a different conversation we could have, not on the podcast. It's not the most interesting one for people to listen to, maybe, but my dad's business is wealth management, and that's what I'm studying alongside playing to hopefully go into when I finish. So it's very, very similar in that sense. But
nice.
It's a conversation maybe not for the podcast because people might just switch off because it's not the most interesting from that point of view. But as you say, you did transition to punditry because OC was over here, your former teammate from the Giants, and you can catch Jason OC on their podcast that I listen to. I do a lot of driving, and it's just excellent, the Jason OC podcast. You can also catch this man on BBC One for the NFL show with OC as well, which is an excellent watch. And what I love about that is it's brilliant for people just getting into the NFL. The two of you are excellent at making, like you say, complicated things really simple. And it doesn't matter if you've watched NFL for years or you're brand new to it. I think it's a must watch. So anyone trying to get into it, I would absolutely recommend the podcast and the show on BBC One. Now, Jason, I want to play a game with you, and it's my favourite bit of every podcast I do because it's just your chance for all that stick the guys were giving you for being on Strictly. This is your chance to get them back. This is a game I play called Teammates. And basically, I'm going to ask questions, and you just have to answer with which teammate you've ever played with most applies to that scenario.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So, my first question is, we're still living in the pandemic. We're in another lockdown here in the UK currently. If you had to go into lockdown, just you and a former teammate, just the two of you living together, who would you most want to go into lockdown with? But more importantly, who would you least want to go into lockdown with and why?
I would lock down with OC. And because OC would keep me so motivated. We would work out, we would eat well, we would have great conversations like we always do about stuff. So days would be planned. You know, it wouldn't feel like Groundhog Day every day. We'd be doing stuff. So, and OC's really relaxed. So it would have to be OC.
What about least? Who would you least want to go into lockdown with?
Least lockdown with of all the players I played with, I would have to say, oh gosh, this is tough. Probably my buddy Marcus Coleman, who I played with in Houston. He kind of showed me the way. He's a corner, but yeah, living with him in lockdown, man, we might get in some trouble. So not Marcus Colton. He's my buddy though. Yeah.
Next one is, so in rugby, there's a big culture of, in the gym, someone chooses the music, on the bus, music, pre-game music, and it's important. It needs to be the right music. You got to do a good job. I stay miles away from it because people get very passionate about it. I'm presuming there's similar scenarios in football. So basically, who do you least want choosing the music?
Who do I least want choosing the music? Anybody? Well, this is tricky. Right. I don't want anybody on the offensive line choosing the music.
Okay, how come?
The offensive line, yeah, they could get tricky with the music, man. It could go any direction. You don't know what these guys are into. But I do want, if I wanted one guy, it would be an offensive lineman, Larry Allen, Dallas Cowboys. Okay. He was the only person in the gym who could change the music regardless who was in there. Now, hear me out. Jerry Jones could be in there working out, listening to his music. Larry Allen could change it to what he wanted.
That's a skill. That's a skill to have. So
every time, and it was always West Coast rap music where I'm from, so I loved it. It worked out.
Least one offensive lineman, unless it's Larry Allen, he's allowed on it.
Yeah.
I want to know, this one you got to be nice about someone, so it's not as much fun. There is some incredible athletes in the NFL, like guys do things that you just struggle to fathom. Who's the most impressive all-round athlete you've played with, where you're just either on the field or in the gym, you're just like, how is he doing the things he's doing?
Andre Johnson, the receiver from the Houston Texans, who's in the Ring of Honor for them, wide receiver. We drafted him in the first round. He was big, fast, huge. I mean, the guy's athletic ability. I've never seen anybody that big, move that fast, jump that high, that explosive of a guy. I had to practice against him every day, and he was just unbelievable, phenomenal.
Yeah, I think things like that, practicing against him must have made you a better player as well, which is what you want, because if you're going against someone that good every day, then you're getting better. You're getting better. Easy on this. And I often get this, the answer when I ask people who've played with me, I often come up on this one. Who's got the worst fashion sense?
Oh, it's a ton of guys, man. It's oh man, you'd see guys, some guys, these guys now can dress, but there's a guy you won't even know. His name is Lynn Scott. I played with him in Dallas. He was a safety. I mean, this guy, he had his truck that he had in college, but his fashion sense, I'd be like, Lynn, you can't wear that, man. You can't. We're in Texas. He's got the shorts, the short jean shorts on with the dad sandals. Like, come on, man, give it up. Give it up. Yeah.
I like to think I'm improving slowly, but it's boys who played me when I was like 18, 19. They're like, Charlie, you just dress like an old man from that age. I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to do better now. I'm trying to do better.
Yeah.
Last one on this, and it can either be because they'd be excellent on it, or because they'd be awful and you'd love to watch them try. Who would you most want to see do Strictly Come Dancing?
My buddy Bernard Berrien. He's a receiver, played for the Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, and dude can flat out dance. He dances now, and he's got style. Like he, if you were to ask the most stylish, it would have been him.
Right. Okay.
He's got it all. So he can dance. He's got style. It would be perfect for him, and he would love it. Like this dude, he would sleep at the studio. He'd be all in it. So it'd be Bernard.
Well, if any of the Strictly Come Dancing producers are listening to this for some reason, there's next season's star right there. Jake, I've got a few questions to finish up with you, and then I will let you go with your day. I can't thank you enough for your time. The first is, I told my family that you were coming on, and my dad got incredibly excited. As I said, the whole reason I'm a Cowboys fan, NFL fan, is because of him. And he was like, Charles, please, can you let me ask a question? And I was like, right, I will ask your question as long as it's okay. Anyone who knows my dad will now be worried about what this question is about to be, because he's a character. But you shocked me. You ran a few questions that I was like, Dad, you can't ask that. And then we got to one that you can. I think it's a question. He wants to know, what's the one thing you learned in your pro athletic career as a professional football player that you now apply to your everyday life still?
So in my professional career that I've learned that I apply to my everyday life.
Every day, yeah.
Great question. Absolutely the best question. And I'll tell you why, because this is very true. It is all about being in the moment and appreciating what you're doing. And I'll tell you why. It took me a long time when I was playing to really enjoy the game. You wanted to do well and you wanted it to be over. You wanted to have a great season and then celebrate in the off season. It took me to the end of my career to when I got on that field to be so happy I was on that grass or turf at that moment. And just each play, like, I love this. And then it was over. So I've taken that into my life after sports. And I try to enjoy these moments. I try to enjoy Strictly. I try to enjoy this podcast. I'm not trying to think about anything else. I'm not trying to think about my day because I could miss something that could happen, just like this question. And I learned that from sports. You know, when I'm with my daughter and she's talking about something, put your stuff down, whatever you're doing, focus. You might miss something. Be where you are. And sports taught me that. Enjoy the moment because those moments don't come back. And I think, you know, I was able to learn that as a young man because of the NFL and football throughout my entire life. So it's something I try to do every day.
I think that's an incredible bit of advice. I just hope that it hasn't been too much of a struggle to try and enjoy this podcast. You said you're trying to enjoy it. I hope that hasn't been too tough to do.
No, it's fun, but you just gotta. That's why it's fun. That's why I'm engaged. You know?
I totally agree. Something else I want to ask you quickly is you obviously spent your life playing an American sport. You now live in England. Do you think there anything that the English sports can learn from American sports? Because I think watching both, American sport is maybe better at making it a spectacle and a show. Do you think we could do more of that with English sports here?
Well, I think the beauty of what we have in this global environment we're living in is that differences between how we behave with sports is what makes it so cool. So I don't think anyone needs to change. I just think being a fan of American football gives you a different vibe, you know, the way the players engage with the media, the things we do. So it doesn't compete with one another. And that's what I think is cool. In America, people love the Premiership. These kids, they're playing FIFA. They know all the players. They know every team. I mean, they are locked in. They're watching it on television. They don't want it to be more American. They want it to be exactly what it is. So I think that we have the ability to embrace all these different sports from wherever they're from and take all the different nuances that the game and the players from those sports give us. I think that's what's really cool. That's what I enjoyed about being here in all the sports. I don't want them to be anything that more than they are. You know, I love the fans' perspective. Yeah, I want to hear the game through a fan's perspective. That's what I love out here. Because I mean, when they get to talking about their teams, their sports, all that excites me. I'm into that, and you know, it's just so much history. Why would you ever want it to change?
No, that's the fans are
just the bad stuff. Change the bad stuff.
Change the bad stuff. Yes. And this bad
change the bad
changed. Last question. Something to ask anyone who comes on the podcast who is a sports star. What's your favorite game ever? Best one you ever played? You enjoyed the most? Best performance? Something like that.
Two games. It's the one we played in Houston against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
I remember it like it was yesterday because of the circumstance. And the last game I ever played in. And, you know, both of them I played well. I've had better games before that and in between, but it's just what those meant to me in my life. I just vividly remember the things that happened in those games.
Yeah. We all have, I think, games that stand out, and they're all for different reasons. I think hearing you talk about, especially that game against Dallas for Houston, first of all beating them, and then from a personal point of view, the circumstance, that must have been so satisfying, and I can completely appreciate why. It's always good to beat the team you've just moved from. It's always a nice feeling. Always enjoyable. Jason, thank you so much for coming on today, Matt. I cannot thank you enough. It's been an absolute pleasure. That hour and a bit has absolutely flown by, and I could keep you here for hours and hours and hours talking, but that is not what anyone wants. as I said earlier, you can find Jason on the Jason and OC podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. You can see him in season on BBC One on the NFL show. Jason, where can people find you on social media? Twitter and Instagram, is it, if they want to find you?
Yeah, both of those, and I believe they're Jason Bell 33 on Instagram and on Twitter. I will check real quick because I should know this, and I believe that's my name on here. It's Jason. Yep, Jason Bell 33.
There he is.
Instagram and Twitter.
Happy days. So go and check Jason out there and follow him there. You can follow the podcast on Twitter and on Instagram at Brew with Beckett. You can follow 92 Degrees, who obviously power the podcast, at 92 Degrees _ on Twitter, at 92degrees.coffee on Instagram, and www.92degrees.coffee, as well as find them on Facebook. Jason, thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it. If you have, please feel free to give us a nice rating, write some nice words on Apple Podcasts, or subscribe on Spotify. This has been Brew with Beckett, powered by 90 Degrees with Jason Bell, and I will see you again soon for another brew.
Hi everyone, Charlie here. Just to say, unfortunately, this episode is the last one in our first series, so that's the end of Series 1 today. But don't worry, we'll be back in the not too distant future, bigger and better for Series 2. And we want your involvement. We want to know how you found Series 1, any recommendations for Series 2, any guests you'd love to see. So please head over to Twitter, to Instagram, send us a DM about any recommendations you have and what you'd love to see for Series 2. Before we go, a few quick thank yous. Firstly, obviously, to 92 Degrees for their continued support, and a massive thank you to Louis and Lucas, my two editors, who have just been unbelievable. This podcast would not be sounding anywhere near as good without them, so thank you very much for your help, lads. But mainly, a huge thank you to you, the listener. We've all been absolutely blown away by the support and the listens and the nice comments you've been making, so we're really glad you've enjoyed it. We've loved making the podcast for you, and hopefully we'll have many more episodes to come when Series 2 is back in a couple of months. But for now, thank you so much for listening. I've been Charlie, you've been listening to Brew with Beckett, and we'll see you soon for another brew.